But here we go. It's 7:05. I'm going to go over the rules. So before we get started, I want to lay out a few ground rules to keep the space respectful, open, and focused on learning. Please note this class is designed for beginners, so everything will be explained in a clear and accessible way. Advanced questions are welcome, but I ask that we honor the pace of the room. So rule number 1, this is based on my experience. Everything that I am sharing comes from my personal journey, my studies, my mentors, my retreats, and my own research. Take what resonates with you and what doesn't, leave it where it is. Number 2, respect different perspectives. Everyone's spiritual path is unique. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. This is a space for learning, not debating or invalidating someone else's beliefs. Number 3, keep the chat positive and respectful. Disrespect, negativity, or trolling won't be tolerated, and that's when the enforcer comes in. Lene, if you can't engage with an open mind, this may not be the space for you. Number 4, no unsolicited advice or corrections. Unless I ask for input, please allow me to teach without interruptions or corrections. If you have a different approach, that's beautiful. This class is centered around what works for me and what has worked for me. There is an exception to this rule. After the class is over, you can teach me whatever you want to. I just ask that y'all respect me while I'm teaching. So if you do have a correction or something that you learn differently than what I am teaching, please save it for the end of the class, because I will open up the floor for questions and things like that. Number 4, already said that one. Number 5, no gatekeeping or one right way of thinking. Spiritual work is diverse and traditions vary. There is no single correct way to do things, only what is true and effective for you. And the last one, number 6, engage, learn, and enjoy. Ask questions, take notes, and be present. You may want to write down your questions as we go, because I will be pausing between each section to answer them. This is an interactive space for growth, understanding, and a deeper connection to the work. So I will be pausing between each section. This class has 6 sections because my assistant told me that I was giving way too much information on live. So she made me scale my classes down to an hour instead of 3 hours, which I told y'all last time in my last live that I'll be scaling it down. So I went from 11 sections to 6 sections, but you still will be getting a lot of information. It just won't be as detailed as before, so we can save some time. And of course, I will be offering the full-blown classes, which are usually 3 to 6 hours, depending on which class it is, on my Patreon. And those will be live through Zoom. Okay, so as always, I give a class introduction. So tonight, we're not just talking about magic. We're talking about remembrance, about bloodlines, spirit lines, and the quiet voices that move through our bones. This is Ancestral Magick. And if you're here, it's because your people called you to be here. Now, before we get deep, I want to be clear. Everything I'm teaching tonight is based on my own lived experience, research, and my spiritual practice. I don't teach from a place of absolute truth. Remember that. Take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. Nothing that I am telling you guys is absolute truth. It will change based on your spiritual practice and your ancestors. So use discernment. Feel it. Why did I spell that like that? Sorry, I spelled something wrong. Feel it in your spirit before you carry it into your altar. Whether you know your family history or not, whether your altar is built or still sitting in your heart, this work is your birthright. In this class, I'm going to walk you through what ancestral magic actually is, how to do it safely and with power, and how to start or deepen your relationship with the ones who came before you. We'll talk about veneration, rituals, healing, and spiritual science. We'll break down bloodline ancestors, chosen spiritual elders, and even the land itself, because ancestral memory lives in more than just people. And as always, we'll be using my formula, work equals intention plus Ashe plus activation, because that's how you turn energy into movement and remembrance into power. So take notes, breathe, ask questions, pause and feel, and above all, remember who you come from. So let's start. Any questions before we get started? Does anybody? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, X Files. Is it XA Files? I'm just gonna call you X Files and ignore the AE in the middle. Let's see. Okay, I want to make sure y'all can. Let me try to turn. I'll just turn it as we go because we're gonna go over this top section with those three. So I'll just turn it as we go. So the first section that we're going to go over, I'm going to explain what ancestral magic actually is. So when we talk about ancestral magic, we're not just talking about setting up an altar or lighting a candle. We're talking about the living energy that moves through our bloods. This is the grief, the gifts, the gift, and the grit and the genius that our people carried and passed down. So ancestral magic is not just something that you do, it's something that you are. For those of us from the African diaspora, ancestral magic isn't a side practice, it's actually the foundation. Our spiritual systems, from hoodoo to voodoo to Ifa to Obia, were born out of necessity and survival. And this is the people who practice these traditions in the diaspora, not in Africa. Our ancestors were kidnapped, trafficked, renamed, and brutalized. And in the midst of that all, they still found ways to pray, to honor the dead, to send messages through fire and water and bone. They didn't do it for aesthetics. They did it to survive, to remember what the world was trying to force them to forget. So our grandmothers didn't call it ancestral magic. They called it praying over it. They said, put their name in the Bible. They said, don't let the mirror face the bed. They said, if you dream of fish, somebody's pregnant. They said, don't throw that hair in the trash. Birds might take it. And you know what? They weren't making it up. They were remembering it through muscle memory and ancestral code. So when you hear, I can go over what some of those mean, just in case y'all don't know what people call superstitions now, what they mean. If you ever heard somebody say, put their name in the Bible, that came from a time when Black people in America were denied legal rights, ownership, and protection. The Bible often was the only Black people in America were denied legal rights, ownership, and protection. The Bible often was the only book allowed in a Black household, which became a sacred place for records. That's where they started keeping their records. A spiritual contract. So placing a name in the Bible was like placing it under divine authority. It was both symbolic and magical. It meant that you were placing someone under God's protection. So in hoodoo, we still do this today with names written and placed in the Psalms or under candles. Hey, y'all. Oh, good, Noble. Pretty much a lot of Black people from the South already know what these mean, but I'm going to go over them anyway. Let me take this necklace off so it won't keep hitting this mic because I don't want to hurt y'all ears. Okay, so if you ever heard don't let the mirror face the bed, this wasn't just about preference, it was about spiritual safety. In many traditions across the world, not just the Black ones, mirrors are seen as portals. When you're sleeping, your spirit is the most vulnerable. Facing a mirror while you rest was believed to leave you open to spiritual interference. Ancestors, spirits of the dead, or even dark energies could cross through. That warning came from a deep understanding of how energy, spirit, and reflection interact. If you dream of fish, somebody's pregnant. Dreaming of fish is tied to spiritual intuition with water and fertility. So fish live in water, and water has always been associated with the womb. In African spiritual systems, um, water spirits like Oshun govern fertility and creation. So when someone dreams of fish, they're spiritually picking up on the presence of the soul entering the womb. It's a symbolic message from the spirit world that it's almost always right. I think I read that wrong. And it's almost always right. Every time your grandmother say, I dream of fish, are you pregnant? And you end up pregnant. They be right almost every time. So don't throw hair away. I think y'all already know what this means. Birds might use it. So hair has long been understood as a powerful spiritual link. It holds your energy, your DNA, and your ashe. If someone takes it, especially a bird, which flies between the worlds, that's a African belief that they fly between the worlds. It was believed that they could use it to harm you, confuse your spirit, or influence your path. In hoodoo specifically, and other root traditions like hoodoo, we often use hair in work because it of how potent it actually is. It literally carries a person's DNA. So the warning wasn't just about being tidy, it was about spiritual protection. That's why your grandmother was telling you not to throw your hair in the trash. So our ancestors didn't need a book because the knowledge was in their bones. Our grandmothers didn't call it ancestral magic, but they always said those superstitions over and over again. I know I heard all of those. Somebody was pregnant. So our ancestors or our grandmothers, great grandmothers, great grandfathers, they weren't being old school. They were safeguarding magic. They were transmitting ancient spiritual science in coded language. Our ancestors specifically were forced to code their language. Um, and it was meant to be decoded by us, the generations that came after them. So their wisdom survived without books because it lived in the rhythms of their bodies, in the way that they stirred pots, swept porches, and whispered prayers over sleeping babies. This is what we mean when we say ancestral magic is memory in motion. It's knowing without an explanation. It's logic rooted in spirit. They sang over pots, whispered to dreams, saved the hair from our combs, and placed water on windowsills. Not because they read it in a book, but because their blood remembered what their mouths had to forget. That's ancestral magic. When you do things and you don't know why you're doing them, and then later on you find out that it's actually from our history. And this isn't just for people of African descent. Every culture on this planet has practiced ancestral reverence in some form. Um, and like the Day of the Dead in Mexico. What's another one? If y'all ever heard of the Chukok ancestor rites in Korea, if y'all ever seen that, the Queen Ming festival in China, and Celtic and Slavic traditions, they always had ancestor altars. So we all come from people who understand that death is not the ending. It's a shift in relationship. So no matter your background, this class can help you reconnect. But I'm going to speak from where I stand as a Black woman who is in the hoodoo tradition. And I invite you to translate what I'm telling you in a way that honors your roots. So, did anybody have any questions? I'm probably going to answer your questions later in the class anyway, because I am going to go over, if you don't know who your ancestors are because you've been adopted or something like that, I will go over that. So ancestral magic can also be the so ancestral magic can also be the act. Forgot to turn notification. Act Forgot to turn notifications off. Hold on. Okay. So, it's the spiritual act of calling your ancestors in with intention to honor them, to work with them, to receive guidance, protection, healing, and power from the lineages that live within you, the creator, the divine, the most high, whatever you call your supreme being. In hoodoo specifically. I'm glitching. It does that every time somebody calls. Hold on. It's better now. Yeah, I just put my phone on D&D. But every time somebody calls, it messes up the sound for some reason. But y'all can hear me now? Okay. So, oh, it's not worship, it's veneration. That's where I was. And the act of remembrance is elevation. It can be done through prayer, offerings, altars, candles, spiritual baths, dream work, and divination. And most of all, it can be done by building a relationship with your ancestors. Because ancestral magic is not performative, it's really not for social media. I do see people posting their ancestor altars and stuff on social media. I do not recommend that at all. I would keep ancestral things very, very private because you would be surprised what a practitioner can do with that. I might do a class about that later on. It's not an aesthetic, it's real, and it responds to intention. So now we're going to move to the science of it. Let me try to, we're going to talk about epigenetics and the mother line. That's where we are now. Can y'all read this, or is that glare too much? Or do I need to, I can scoot it up a little bit. Well, when we get to the mother line, I'll just move it over. So let's get into the body. You can see it? You can? Okay. It's a bit blurry. Is that still blurry? Okay. So you are made of every person who came before you. That's not poetry. I'm not just saying something. That's actual science. You didn't just inherit your grandmother's eyes or your father's smile. You inherited their memories, their patterns, their fears, and their unspoken prayers. There's an entire field called epigenetics, and that's what we're talking about now. That's the study that studies how trauma, stress, and the environment can change the way your genes express themselves. Those changes, what was that? Thank you. Not sure what that was. I heard the sound, but I didn't get to see it. So, those changes don't happen in one lifetime. They can be passed down for generations. So, let me break this down in an example for y'all. Studies were done on the descendants of Holocaust survivors, and they found out that their grandchildren had higher levels of stress hormones, anxiety, and nervous system responses, even though they had never experienced the war themselves. Now, let's apply this to Black folks. Centuries of slavery, colonization, forced migration, rape, starvation, genocide, and systematic erasure. That pain doesn't just fade away. It lives in the body. It's how we protect our children. It's how we fear authority. Like we have a unspoken fear of authority that comes from our ancestors. How we hustle to survive, even how we are exhausted. We are a people that is so tired, and that comes from our ancestors. But Ancestral Magick says you are not just the result of their pain, you are the continuation of their power. Our ancestors transmuted that energy, that trauma, into the ancestral magic that now runs through our blood. And so then we're going to move to the mother line. This is your mitochondrial DNA. A lot of spiritualists call it mother wit, if y'all have ever heard that term. This is the DNA that's passed directly from mother to child. It doesn't recombine like the rest of your DNA. It literally stays almost identical throughout generations. That means the DNA inside of you is a direct biological copy of your maternal ancestors' DNA, going back hundreds to thousands of years. When we talk about mother wit, or when we feel called by a woman we've never met in spirit, that might be because her literal biological code is inside of you. So somebody else could be carrying the same mitochondrial DNA and you not even know it as you, because of ancestor from thousands of years ago. So yes, you can inherit your grandmother's prayers. You can inherit your great great grandmother's grief, but you can also inherit her magic, her vision, her strength. That's why many ancestral practices start with the mother line, because scientifically and spiritually, it holds the deepest memory. And metaphysically, the womb has always been a gateway between worlds. It is a portal through which ancestors return. In many traditions, traditional African spiritual systems, women were the original priestess, diviners, and mediums. The feminine current was honored as the source of life, power, and sacred knowing. It was never seen as weaker. That was actually a colonial rewrite. Patriarchy is not spiritual, it's political. I want y'all to remember that. So spirit doesn't favor hierarchy, it favors balance. Oh, thank you so much. Too lovely. I'm gonna have to make you a moderator. So where was I? Okay. I said spirit doesn't favor hierarchy, it favors balance. And science literally shows us that maternal lines carry more direct ancestral memory than paternal ones. That means the women in your family, everything, almost everything is carried down by the women in your family, not the men. So when we talk about ancestral magic, we start with the mother line, not just because of culture, but because it is the most intact map of who we are and where we come from. That's why when the ancestors knock, it's most often the grandmothers who answer first. Like when you go looking for an ancestor, you're trying to connect to your ancestors, you start doing offerings and things like that, and you start having dreams, more than likely it will be a woman from your bloodline that comes to you first. This is not 100%, but most of the time it's always a woman. So, just like the trauma is passed down, so is healing. When you build an altar, when you pray, when you break toxic patterns, when you speak the names that history tried to silence, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing backward. You're lifting the energy of those who couldn't do it in their timeline. That's what ancestral magic is. It's not just a ritual, it's not just a spell. People like to use that word, but a conversation between your body and your bloodline. A remembering that becomes a revolution. So that is the conclusion of what ancestral magic is. The next section we'll be going over is the layers of the ancestors. Did anybody have any questions? Oh, dang, join the circle. You didn't miss much. We really just finished section 1. So you're still early in the class. Anybody have any questions about anything I just went over before we move to section 2? So did everybody download the slides that I posted on my TikTok for y'all to download so y'all can follow along visually? If not, they're still up. You can download them after this class. We're about to go over, oh shit, I forgot I zoomed in. Hold on real quick. We'll be going over the ancestral tree of influence next. They're on my TikTok page. It might be like the 4th video from the last one that I posted. It's actually a photo slideshow, so you can download each photo one by one. Hey, cousin. How are you? Oh, okay. You don't have to download them. It's just for people who are visual learners. I try to structure my classes to be for beginners, like, and people who have different learning patterns, because not everybody can take what I'm saying without looking at something. So that's what it's really for. Yes, you're not too late, Kadeja. It's not a link on my profile. It's an actual video on my profile. Like if you go to my profile, you'll see actually it's kind of structured like this, but it's a photo slideshow on my profile, so you can download them. But it's not that. I think it's the 4th video from the last that I posted. I think it's the 4th video from the last that I posted. Okay, so nobody has asked questions about section 1, so we're going to move to section 2. And we're going to talk about layers of ancestors, and we're going to go over the ancestral tree of influence. For you all who did not download the visual aid, I did do a chart of it instead, just in case, because I know TikTok likes to shadow ban me real bad. Let me see. So now, let me see. Okay, cool. You got the video. Okay, good. So now that we understand what ancestral magic is, we need to talk about who we're actually working with. I keep forgetting I have this on. I keep hitting it. Okay. Because not all ancestors are the same, and not every spirit that passed on is meant to be called into your rituals. So we come from a deep spiritual structure. Our people didn't just call on the dead, they understood the roles and layers of ancestral energy. This is where we get into the ancestral tree of influence I just showed you guys. If you downloaded your slides, you'll see it. If not, you can look at the board instead. But if you do download your slides and you print them out, it'll be easier for you to take notes just on that chart. That's why I left so much space on it. So at the base of the tree, which is going to be the top for us, is you. So the tree, the ancestral tree of influence, is actually a graph that I created. I wanted to show you what ancestral ties actually influence ancestral magic. So that's what this is. So you have bloodline ancestors. That's what we're going to go over first. So these are the people, and it's in the title. These are your people by blood. This is your parents, your grandparents, your great grands, and all the way back. These are the ones who carry the same DNA that's built into your body, whose struggles shaped your family's pattern, and whose wounds you may still be carrying in your spirit today. So when we say ancestral trauma or generational curses, things like that, we're almost always talking about something that originated in the bloodline. That might be addiction, poverty. And when I say poverty, I'm talking about consciousness. So that poverty mindset. If you don't ever get out of that poverty mindset, that lack mindset, it actually is a generational curse. And the more you think about it and you're in that consciousness, the poorer you will become. And I'm talking about money, finances. It's a type of generational curse. abusive relationship patterns, survival behaviors that were once protective, but now they're becoming limiting. Because we don't have to do some of the same things that our ancestors did. You're supposed to adapt and change the way that you survive based on what society is like now. So some people, because their ancestors experienced so much trauma, they start to do those protective, limiting practices in the now. And that is actually a type of generational curse. So, but bloodline ancestors also gave us sacred traits. This is our gifts, our songs, our food that we like to eat, our laughter, our resilience. Some of them were root workers, midwives, freedom fighters, warriors, things like that. They held the line so you could walk forward. Working with them allows you to heal your line backwards to forward. I can't remember what elder said this. It might have been Mama Sunfire. I think it was her. She was saying that ancestral veneration is working with the past, the present, and the future at the exact same time. I think that came from her. I can't remember who I was listening to. I was on a live. But that's the perfect analogy. Working with them allows you to heal your line backward and forward, to stop cycles, break chains, and become the ancestor that you needed. But here's the key. Not every blood ancestor is elevated. That's why we discern. Some spirits are still wounded, still confused, still tied to their earthly pain. And if you call them in without boundaries, you may be inviting their chaos too. So that's why it's important to watch who you work with. So now we're going to go to the next type, which is elevated ancestors, who can also be bloodline ancestors. Most of them are. So elevated ancestors are the ones who died in peace or have grown and healed in the spiritual realm, and they become your spiritual guides for your family line, things like that. Kind of like if y'all watched Mulan before, and she had those ancestors, and some of them were way wiser. Kind of like if y'all watched Mulan before, and she had those ancestors, and some of them were way wiser than some of them. Like the old ones were very, very wise. Those would be considered elevated ancestors. So those are the ones who come with clarity, with grace, and with purpose. They're so those are the ones who come with clarity, with grace, and with purpose. They're the ancestors who want to help you grow, not haunt you with their trauma. Now, here's the truth. Not all elevation happens instantly. Some ancestors are elevated because of you. And I went over this in the last live. Your prayers, your offerings, your altar work, all of that gives you fuel to your ancestors who are still finding their way. This is why in hoodoo and many other traditions like hoodoo, we don't call on every spirit that passed away. We call on the ones we trust, the ones who come with peace, the ones who show up with a light behind them, those who you know did not die traumatically, things like that. If you ever feel heavy or confused after ancestral work, ask yourself, am I working with an elevated ancestor or just somebody who's familiar? Force, yeah. Next are spiritual ancestors or spiritual guides. These are non-bloodline guides. These are the ancestors who you choose or who walk with you because of the path you stepped into. So this could be a late mentor. It can be an elder from the same tradition that you're in. And this could be an elder that you have never met ever, but they are an elder in this tradition. It could be an elder that you admired but never met, but they passed away. It could be a spirit guide or a cultural ancestor who shares your lineage. I do want to say that even though I'm teaching you this, if you are a beginner, do not reach out. Say that even though I'm teaching you this, if you are a beginner, do not reach out to spirit guides on your ancestor altar or anything like that until you actually connect to your elevated bloodline ancestors. That's who you need to connect to first. So I'm teaching you this, but don't utilize it yet. It's glitching again. Is it still glitching? Here, let me, is it still glitching? Here, let me turn my, what about now? I'm about to repeat it. Okay. So y'all can hear me. Okay. So what I said is do not, even though I'm teaching you about spiritual ancestors and the ancestors of the land, if you are a beginner, I would not take anything that I'm teaching you right now and actually utilize it until you have connected and healed through your elevated bloodline ancestors. Oh, it's still glitching. Lord. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Okay. So it's okay. Did y'all hear what I said about not utilizing this information if you are a beginner? Did y'all hear that? Am I frozen? Is it working? Can y'all hear me? Okay, so I'm going to repeat it. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Okay. So what I said was I'm going over these two spiritual ancestors and guides and ancestors of the land so that y'all know that they exist within Ancestral Magick. But I don't want you to utilize this information until you have connected and healed through the 6 steps of ancestral healing that I taught y'all in the last live. Um, through elevated ancestors, I don't want you to dive into this until you have completed this. You get me? So, as I was saying before, the spiritual ancestors or the spiritual guides are non-bloodline guides. They can be your elders, elders that you have admired but never met and they passed away. They can be elders who are from the same tradition as you. The last live will be posted on my Patreon probably 2 weeks from now. I post one live a week on my Patreon, and then the whole library will be open. Um, but you do have to subscribe to my Patreon to be able to see the live recordings. Yes, that's true. Carmel. So, let me see. An example of this is if you are a hoodoo practitioner, a lot of card readers, people who are looking, for prosperity or protection within card reading or divination. They could have Aunt Caroline Dye, who was a famous practitioner from Arkansas, who was a spiritual guide or a spiritual ancestor, because there's no direct bloodline to her, but she was a hoodoo practitioner, so she is an elder of the tradition. That's what I mean when I say spiritual ancestor or spiritual guide. If you're in another tradition, it might be a priestess or a prophet or a revolutionary spirit who has aligned with your mission. It's still glitching? Lord. So it's not? Okay. I'm confused. So these ancestors work with you because your energy resonates with theirs. They recognize something in your walk and they come to support, protect, and pass on teachings. Now, spiritual ancestors can also come through initiation. So, through cultural alignment and spiritual vows, but some just show up because the work you're doing has activated them. You didn't find them, they found you. I was trying to see. Okay. So now we're going to go over ancestors of the land, which is this one. Oh, I did find my pointer and I'm not even using it. That's been missing since I started doing lives. Same. Ancestor work helped me out a lot. I definitely agree with that. So when we talk about ancestors of the land, this is an especially important information. Okay. Information for people who have been displaced. This is whole cultures of people, African Americans, Caribbeans, of the African diaspora. So through slavery, migration, adoption, like if you've been adopted, things like that. We are often living on land that is not our own. And that land has memory, that land has grief, that land has guardians. Ancestors of the land are the spirits who lived, died, and were buried in the ground beneath your feet. So they are if you are in America, it would be indigenous spirits, enslaved spirits, the forgotten spirits. We know those people who were unalived, and not marked. No grave was marked. And they may or may not be at peace. So be careful with that. So part of ancestral magic is learning to acknowledge these spirits, not call them into being, not ask them to do anything for you, but to acknowledge them, to ask permission, especially if you're doing ancestral work outside on the land, and to offer respect when you're doing the spiritual work. So because if you're doing root work in Arkansas, but ignoring the spirits that are buried on that land. In Arkansas, there are a lot of plaques that tell you if battles were um, performed there. Like the town that I live in now, there was a huge war that was fought here. And there is a plaque that tells us that there are bodies buried under one of the projects here. It was a mass grave, and I don't know why they didn't move the bodies, but it is a memorial plaque there letting people know that people are buried there. So if you are doing work there, it's best to acknowledge those people who are underneath you. So even if your ancestors aren't from the land you lived on, you are still on land that holds spirits. And in diasporic practices, honoring the land is part of regrounding yourself. It's a part of grounding. Thank you. So, how do you know who is with you? And that's when we come here and we remember DDDO, discernment, divination, dreams, and offerings. Let me zoom in just in case you can't see that, because I did write that small. I had started running out of space. So, not everyone has names of family trees to work from. Some of us don't know our grandparents. Some of us come from adoption, foster care, or fragmented histories. But that doesn't block you from ancestral connection. Your bloodline might be hidden, but your spirit still remembers. It's always in your DNA. And this is where discernment, divination, dreams, and offerings come into play. You may not know their names, but your body and your spirit knows their frequencies. So I'm going to go over the definitions of each of these just in case. I told you this is a beginner class. Even if some of y'all know this, some people might not. So discernment is your spiritual filter. It's not fear, it's clarity. It's the way your stomach tightens when your spirit doesn't feel right. It's the calm that settles over your room after you light a candle and say only the elevated may enter. It's your intuition whispering, don't open that door just because someone knocked. You might feel a cool breeze pass over you while you're praying, or a pressure on your left shoulder that reminds you of your grandfather's hug. You might feel drained or heavy after leaving your altar, which could mean a spirit is drawing energy without giving it back. That's when you invite those ancestors who aren't healed, and they're basically vampiric spirits. They're draining your energy. It could be a sign that someone you called isn't even ready to speak to you. So if you feel drained after leaving your altar, that is the number one sign that you have a spirit on your altar that does not need to be there. So divination, this gives you languages to the unseen. This is cards, bones, dice, I Ching, if you use that, prayer beads. Divination is using a pendulum, bibliomancy, things like that. So you're asking directly, who is this? What do you need? Are you elevated? Should I continue this connection? That's what you're asking when you're divining if you should be talking to a spirit, if you should be venerating a spirit. And listen, after you ask those questions, listen before you draw your card or throw your bones. It's not just what you want to hear that is revealed sometimes. So sometimes your deck will show the death card, not a threat, but a presence. Sometimes your candle will burn high and clean if you do use candle divination. Other times it'll pop, drown, or refuse to stay lit. That's a no. If that happens, that's a no. Your spirits will talk to you, but you have to be willing to listen without ego. A lot of people think I can talk to whoever I want to because I'm so powerful. That's not a thing. Don't let your ego make you end up ruining your spiritual health. So then we get to dreams. Pretty sure everybody knows what that is, but dreams to someone like me is ancestral email. So some ancestors come to you in dreams because it's the easiest doorway. That's the easiest way they can connect to you. They'll show up as old people who you don't recognize. They'll show up as animals or distant memories. They'll speak in symbols. They'll be cooking for you. Be careful eating anything in a dream. They'll brush your hair. They'll stand in doorways. And yes, they might also warn you. If someone shows up angry, disoriented, or stuck, that could be an unrested spirit. You might wake up sweating with a headache, with the smell of tobacco, fire still in your nose. Write down every time you have a dream like that. Even if you don't understand it yet, you need to, as soon as you wake up, you need to write down that dream, because you will time you have a dream like that. Even if you don't understand it yet, you need to, as soon as you wake up, you need to write down that dream, because you will forget. I don't think ancestors, this is my opinion, would block your dreams to protect you. That's like that's like their number one way of communicating with you. Because if they do that, they block themselves too. So that's when we move to offerings, which helps spirits reveal their nature. So this is food, water, liquor, flowers, prayers. These are spiritual currencies. Leaving a cup of coffee and seeing how the energy shifts. Leave a plate of rice and pay attention to whether your sleep changes. Also pay attention if the rice dries out immediately, that means they have accepted it. If it just sits and starts molding and things like that, you might not want to connect to that ancestor again. Let me see. After smoke is my so let me go back to divination. I'm just now seeing that. Let me go back to divination. So didn't hear, can't remember what I said about smoke. Did I say something about smoke? Oh, tobacco smoke. Because back then a lot of people yeah, that's what I was talking about, tobacco smoke. Like if you wake up smelling tobacco smoke or something like that. I'm going to go over divination again. Divination gives you the language to the unseen. This is when you pull cards, shake your bones, use your pendulum, use bibliomancy, and you ask direct questions like, who is this? What do you need? Are you elevated? Should I continue this connection? That Black Swan is not a question that I can answer. It's different for everybody. It depends on how your ancestors connect to you. Um, I usually leave the food until it starts looking dull, or sometimes it'll just dry up. Like one time I came in here and I had put it in. I think I had did the ritual that night, and the next morning I came back and it was dried. So it was sucked up immediately, and then I disposed. I came back and it was dried. So it was sucked up immediately, and then I disposed of it. So it really depends. You're welcome, Parker. So, and you should also ask, should I continue this connection? And then after you ask these questions, you're going to listen. And it's not just to what you want to hear, but what is revealed. So you want to keep ego out of it. Lene said her stuff smells strong to let her know to come get it off the altar. So, and sometimes you'll see gnats and stuff like that. Usually, that's a warning. If because if your ancestor altar is A1, bugs won't come near it. I rarely get gnats, but I had a client who asked me about that, and I was like, I rarely get gnats. Like I see that as monitoring spirits. That's a warning. So, and then somebody said they wanted me to repeat the tobacco part. And this was under dreams. And when I was telling y'all, dreams are like ancestral email. And so some part, and this was under dreams. And when I was telling y'all, dreams are like ancestral email. And so sometimes you do get a warning. If someone shows up angry, disoriented, or stuck, that could be an unrested spirit. You might wake up sweating, with a headache, with the smell of tobacco or fire still in your nose. And then I was telling you, you should write this down every single time this happens, even if you don't understand it yet. Your dreams are a bridge for you and your ancestors to connect. Um, what about bees, wasps? Hold on. I think TikTok is about to make me do that puzzle thing to stay on here. Oh, this is a new puzzle. Okay. So I will have to look up I'll have to save that question for the end of the class. the bees, wasps, and hornets, and I'll look it up in my book of signs and symbols. Okay, so let's get back to the class because I'm already going to go over the time that I was supposed to be doing. So we need to get through this quickly. Where was I? So I did divination. I did offerings. Did y'all hear what I said about offerings? I'm going to go ahead and go over it because I don't think I finished it. So food, water, liquor, flowers, prayer. These are spiritual currencies. Leave a cup of coffee and see how the energy shifts. Leave a plate of rice and pay attention to whether your sleep changes. Set out something sweet. If the room feels lighter, you're probably feeding an ancestor who moves with sweetness. If you hear knocks or feel cold afterwards, you might be awakening someone else who needs to be addressed. Offerings are like keys, so they unlock communication. And sometimes what a spirit accepts or rejects will tell you more than 1,000 prayers will. So signs are everywhere. You might smell perfume that when no one's around. You might hear a song your great aunt used to play and it stops you in mid thought. You might walk into a room and feel watched, not in fear, but in recognition. These are signs. Spirit speaks through electricity, through timing, through wind, through mirrors, through animals. An owl, a crow, a butterfly, wasp and bee, like someone said earlier, a specific number that keeps showing up. These aren't always coincidences. They are messages, patterns, and portals. You might hear your name called when you're alone. You might feel a sudden need to cook a meal that doesn't even sound good to you, but you have a taste for it, only to find out later it was your grandfather's favorite meal. That is not random. It's remembrance through your DNA. And over time, out later, it was your grandfather's favorite meal. That is not random. It's remembrance through your DNA. And over time, you'll know which ones come in peace, which ones drain you. The more you do this, the easier it will be to recognize your ancestors. You'll also know which ones speak through fire. You'll know which ones speak through water. You'll know which ones speak through silence, through prayers. You'll know who's ready to help you grow. And they'll still, some of them will still try to grow through you too. You'll know which ones need to be elevated. So, sometimes you'll know who's hungry, you'll know who's proud, you'll know who's been waiting for you to remember. And just like I said in the movie Mulan, all of those ancestors had different personalities. And they had the same personalities they had when they were alive. Keep that in mind. I went over that in the last live too about how when the ego self, the three parts of the soul, the ego is the part of the soul that exists in the physical realm inside of our bodies. And when our body goes away, that ego self still exists. So they still have the same personalities. They still have the same mental illnesses if they had mental illness when they left. Things like that. Our souls can exist in multiple timelines, in multiple dimensions at the exact same time, and they all can be different because the spirit world does not work like the physical world does. So next we're going to get to building a relationship with your spirits. And I'm going to try to speed up because I'm already be over. I probably still have a whole hour left the way we're going. So did anybody have any questions about what I just went over specifically? We're going. So did anybody have any questions about what I just went over specifically? And then we're going to move to section 3, building ancestral relationships. And this section isn't that long. The next 2 sections aren't long at all. When you light a candle outside, I see an orb. It could be an ancestor. That sounds like a spirit guide, though, if they're materializing like that. Let me see. Your ancestors' lives weren't kind. That's when ancestor elevation comes in. I actually taught that in the last class. I might do an educational video on elevating an ancestor. Let me make a note of that because a lot of people say that. Like I said before, you have the power to elevate ancestors who did die without happiness or tragically, things like that, died with addiction. Ooh, somebody come in. Let me go back up. Well, I didn't say rice is in an, I didn't say what rice was in a, oh, zoom out. Yes. So I was just using rice as an example. I was saying that you could put rice on an altar and it could be dried out the next day. And I'm talking about without mold or anything like that. That means it was accepted. But if you come back and it's all moldy and things like that, it might be that that offering wasn't accepted. That ancestor might not like rice. That ancestor might not like you. That's when you use your divination to find out, in your discernment to find out. Look, pay attention to your dreams after you leave an offering too. I went over if you are adopted already. That's with spiritual ancestors, and I'm actually going to go over if you're adopted again. I think that's in section 5. I'm going to go over that again in more depth than what I did earlier. So just wait for that question. Thank you, X-Files. You leave your, yes, that is normal to leave your altar rejuvenated and refreshed. That is very, very, very good. That's what you want. You start receiving blessings and stuff out of nowhere. That's what you want. That means that your ancestors are rocking with you. You pick the right ones. Yes, and you can continue to speak to your adopted grandparents, um, your adopted family members. If you're not sure, don't do it. Um, I wouldn't if you're not sure. But your adopted grandparents would be considered spiritual ancestors because they're not of your bloodline. Let me see. No, you're okay. Florida coastal. What if you come from what? Chelsea. Yes, anybody who is no longer living is an ancestor, Colleen. I've already did an ancestor and altar class. If you go look at my page, I actually did, because I put so much stuff into that particular class. I did do a follow-up post about ancestor and altars. So if I were you, I would go find that post on my page. If you DM me, I'm the one who asked about ancestor altars. Thank you. On my TikTok page, I'll tag you in it. So DM me and say, I don't know how to do an ancestor altar. I was on your live, and I'll tag you in that video. Let me see. They are your spiritual family. They took care of you. Ancestors aren't just your bloodline. Ancestors are anybody who is no longer here. Okay, I'm going to move on. It's 8:08. Turn up. That's prosperity and abundance. Divine prosperity and abundance. 8:08. So, section 3, building ancestor relationships. Let me zoom back in so y'all can see that. Thank you for the hearts. I didn't even know I had a fan club. Thank you, Courtney B. That's crazy. I need to learn more about TikTok Live, because it just said that you became number 23 fan in my fan club. I mean 32, and I didn't even know I had one. Okay. So, it's one thing to call your ancestors, it's another thing to build with them. An altar isn't enough if you never sit at it. A candle means nothing if you're just going to go through the motions. The work is rational, not transactional. And like any relationship, it requires time, trust, honesty, and consistency. So how do we build a strong relationship with our ancestors? There are a bunch of different ways, and the way that you do it is going to change based on the ancestor. But I want to give you a list of different ways that you can. But there are four foundational practices I want to ground you in. These are not rules. As I said before, nothing that I am telling y'all tonight is absolute truth. This is what works for me. Hey, Mommy Moon. Um, so you'll develop your own rhythm over time. So I want y'all to keep that in mind. I want y'all to take what resonates with you based on your spiritual traditions and your spiritual path and purpose. So the very first thing, which is the number one thing to do, is speak their name. And this is for people who know the name of their ancestors. I am going to teach y'all how to figure out what the name is if you don't have their name a little bit later in the class. So in African traditions, to be forgotten is to die twice. Y'all ever heard that saying before? To be forgotten is to die twice. When you say their name, even just out loud in your room, you're opening a doorway between you and the ancestral realm. So start simple. Say their names when you wake up. Say thank you out loud to your grandmother. Say, Daddy, I hope you found peace. Even if you're unsure how they passed, even if the relationship was complicated, speaking their name is not worship, it's acknowledgement. So even though you can venerate an ancestor who is not, I'm sorry, not venerate. You can acknowledge an ancestor and not venerate them. So, I'm sorry, not venerate. You can acknowledge an ancestor and not venerate them. So, if somebody in your life died tragically, or they were very not a good person when they were alive, but you don't think that they deserve to be forgotten, like they went through some type of trauma that made them the person that they were, you can acknowledge them by saying their name. I just would not venerate them or put them on your altar until you have went through these steps of elevation that I taught in the last class. And I have made a note to myself to do an educational video on my TikTok page about elevation, because I get asked that so many times, a lot. So look for that by next week. Probably by Monday or Tuesday, I'll have that video put together. So start simple. Say their names when they wake up. That's what I just went over. And if you don't know their names, I want you to say, I call on the ones I come from, the ones who know my name, even if I do not know theirs. That alone will activate the energy of your bloodline. It's not venerating them. It's not calling them to you. It's acknowledging that they exist. So we're going to move over to giving regular offerings. So offerings are the love language of spirits. In life, our people showed love through food, through care, through small acts that said, I see you. Spirits are no different. Your ancestors can't eat a fried pork chop the way that we do, but they can take in the energy, the scent, and the intention that was put into it while you were creating it. Like I told y'all before, I think it was like 2 or 3 classes ago, that the activation in my formula is kinetic energy. That's energy in motion. When you cook something, that's considered activation. That is kinetic energy. You're actually doing something in the physical world for the spiritual world, which is creating a balance. And then you're putting it on the altar, and they can actually soak up that energy. So it's not actually the food itself. It is the action that is feeding your ancestors. So where was I? I got off subject. Well, I was on the subject. I got off topic. Let me see. Okay. So that is what offering is. It's an energy exchange. And I think I went over the laws of energy exchange when I went over the ancestor and altars class. So the very first thing you should ever offer your ancestor is water. Like, if you don't know anything else, water is a universal offering because it nourishes, it purifies, it grounds, and it also opens up the line of communication. Water is literally life. Without water, none of us would exist. So I think I missed something. I actually do write books. The Fox is Mine. I have several books published, and I'm about to publish 5 more. And one of them is about ancestors and altars, so look out for those. I actually started out as a writer. That was my first profession ever, was a writer. So let me see. Where was I? I keep getting off task. My bad, y'all. Oh, start from water. That's where I was. So from there, then you start thinking about their favorite. Oh, start from water. That's where I was. So from there, then you start thinking about their favorite foods: coffee, cornbread, rum, candy. I don't want y'all to overthink it. You don't try to be too fancy. I know y'all see a lot of fancy altars on the internet. All you need, I think I told y'all this in another live, is a plate, a cup of water, and a photo. If you don't have a photo, a name. If you don't have that, just speak. Cup of water and a photo. If you don't have a photo, a name. If you don't have that, just speak and invite them in using the same phrase that I just told you before. You don't have to be fancy. Work with what you got, just like our ancestors did. When I say regular offerings, when I use that word, I'm talking about what I just did. When I say regular offerings, when I use that word, I'm talking about weekly. Is good. That's really good if you do it weekly. Monthly is good. Just don't skip a month. On their birthdays, on their death days, on days when you need strength. And when you're leaving an offering, say something like, I offer this in love and remembrance. May you be strengthened by it. This keeps the connection alive and lets them know that you're not just there to take, but to give as well. One of the books is on my website. So I'm no longer working with the publishing company that I was working with. So I'm actually about to republish all of my books. So the rest of them are not available right now. I am going through them and revising them. So I am able to republish them. And then I will let you guys know when they're available. Kind of got behind on it because of life. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's coming before the end of the year, and I will let you guys know on TikTok and all my other platforms when they're ready. So, number 3, discern who is a part of building a relationship. Not every ancestor should be invited to your altar. I keep saying this because it's very, very important. And the reason I keep teaching this is because of a bad experience that I had when I invited an ancestor. And I can't talk about it on live, but I'm telling y'all this from experience. So just like in life, not every family member has your best interest at heart. Some were abusers. That's what happened to me. The person that I invited ended up being a PDO, and I didn't know it because my ego, I wanted to connect with that ancestor because it's a long story. I might tell it one day, but some were enablers. Some died angry or spiritually disoriented, and you are not required to venerate someone just because you share their blood. I'm going to say that again. You are not required to venerate somebody because they share your blood. Acknowledgement is okay, but you do not have to venerate them. That is why discernment is essential. You can light a candle and say, only those who walk in light and elevation are welcome here. Things like that. Pay attention to how the energy shifts. Pay attention to how your body feels when certain names cross your mind, when you speak them. Pay attention to who shows up in your dreams. and who avoids you in your dreams. Because you can have somebody running from you in a dream. That means that they don't want to be fucked with. Like, leave them alone. Not all ancestors want to be acknowledged. Not all of them want to be venerated. Some of them want to be left alone. And remember, working with ancestors is not about pretending that they were perfect. As I said before, their ego self, their ego portion of their soul still exists. It's about recognizing who is ready to evolve and who is still clinging to their root wounds. So some ancestors become guides. Some of them become lessons, which was my situation. You're not here to save anyone, but you are here to move with spiritual responsibility. And so that's when we get to number 4, listen. And this is listening for signs, listening to your dreams. Your ancestors are always speaking to you. The question is, are you still enough to hear them? Are you grounded enough to hear them? Messages come from all forms. A dream you can't shake, a scent in a room with no source, a phrase your aunt used to say, suddenly showing up in a song, an animal that crosses your path 3 days in a row. Remember the power of 3. I've taught y'all before, if you've been here before. A gut feeling not to go somewhere and finding out later why. That be your ancestors. The more you acknowledge these signs, the stronger the communication becomes. They're not random, they're coded messages from beyond. So, I always tell people that you need to start a dream journal. I love writing. I do not like writing in journals, like with a pen and a piece of paper. So I always use voice to text, and I have a notepad in my phone. It's saved to the iCloud and several other places. And I speak my dreams as soon as I wake up. I speak them into my phone. So I would suggest keeping a dream journal. Start tracking your gut feelings. Every time you get a gut feeling, write down what you were thinking about and what was happening. You're welcome. Thank you so much. So when you light your altar, don't just speak, sit in silence afterwards. If you don't remember your dreams, you might have some type of spiritual blockage. It could be a physical blockage. It could be the way that you're eating. It could be a lot of things. I would get some divination done to find out why you can't dream, because that's not normal. We're supposed to remember our dreams, but the food and stuff that I don't want to, never mind, because they'll turn my live off. Change your diet. If that don't work, see if it's a spiritual thing. You can also try mugwort, lotus flower, things like that. Let me see. Can I call? Yes, you can. X-Files. You're welcome, Black Swan. So, let me see. Where was I at? Oh, yeah. I told you to sit in silence and don't speak after you light your altar. And then after you sit in silence for a while, you can ask questions like, who's with me right now? If you are a divinationist, you'll have your cards, your bones, whatever out. Um, to some people have psychic abilities. They can just hear. So just pay attention. Based on what your gift is how you're going to communicate with your ancestors, how you're going to receive the answers. So what do I need to know today is a good question to ask. What offering do you want is a good question. Is there something I need to release is a good question. And then once again, you wait in silence. And based on what your divination abilities are, how your ancestors communicate with you, which you will build a relationship with them to find out how they communicate with you, and it'll be easier. Let the answers arrive in their own language. Pay attention to the flame of the candle that you are burning at that time. That can help too. So a relationship is a ritual in motion, which is kinetic energy. So this work is about control. It's about connection. You will not always feel something every time. That's okay. You're not building a vending machine. You're building a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It's not going to happen overnight. Some days you'll cry. That's happened to me before. When I was talking to my great grandmother, when she was alive, we were horrible kids. and I regretted it. And so I had a conversation with her, and I was crying for like an hour having that conversation with her. So some days you'll laugh out loud at memories that rise up from nowhere. Some days you'll feel silence, and even that is sacred. So, just like you don't text your best friend and expect fireworks every time, you don't show up to your altar expecting theatrics. You show up because they matter to you. You show up to your altar because you matter to them. And over time, you'll feel the difference in your dreams, in your home, in your walk, in your spirit. When I tell you blessings will start raining down on you, people who know me in real life, they're in this chat right now. They know how like random ass shit happens to me all of the time. And it's because I take care of my ancestors and they take care of me in return. So, because building an ancestral relationship is not about reaching back, it's about making room for what never left in the first place. They never left you. So, any questions about that before we move on to tools and practices? And we're almost finished, y'all. Because section 6 isn't that long either, at all. And this is about to be the shortest one. The one I'm about to go over now is very short. Any questions about the section I just went over, which was build a relationship? Oh, it's okay, Mommy Moon. You got my phone number. I can send everything over to you that you missed. Just text me and remind me. You know how my mind is. Yes, Donna, that is exactly what happened. And they do it. The craziest thing about colonization is that they tricked us into forgetting our traditions, and behind closed doors, these billionaires, the 1%, they are actually practicing what they stole from us. And that is why they are in the 1%. So we're going to move on to section 4, which is tools and practices. Yep, doing it behind closed doors and pretending like they're Christian and on the TV, pretending like they going to church. Definitely is crazy work. So the tools are not the power. I want y'all to remember that as I go over this section. You are the power, but tools help you focus your power. They help anchor energy in the physical world. They give the spirit something to land on, something to touch, something to activate, to speak through. That's why we don't just throw things on a shelf and call it magic. We build it with intention. We use what speaks to the soul, and we treat every single item we use as sacred. So there's way more tools than this, but these are the 7 that I want to go over. So the very first thing, the altar, your sacred meeting place. The altar, thank you. The altar is your gateway. It's where living and dead sit together. It can be simple, which is a white cloth, a candle, a glass of water, a photo, or it can be just decorated with heirlooms, crystals, statues, or personal items. The way that your altar is set up depends on you and your practice. Remember, everything I'm teaching now is not absolute truth. It will be different for everybody. So, yes, Richie, a lot of people don't know that. It can cause you to, it can mess up your memory too. If you smoke a lot of I can't say that word. I forgot, y'all. Y'all can't talk about that in live or they'll shut down my live. You can't use the word smoke or anything like that. They did that to me before. But yes, what Richie said is actually true. You can't use the word smoke or anything like that. They did that to me before. But yes, what Richie said is actually true. No, you're good. because I was about to say it too, because I forgot. So, but if you are having problems dreaming, you can DM me and I can give you a list of things because I already have a list put together in my notes. Okay, let me see. Where was I? The most important thing is to keep it clean and intentional. An altar is not a dumping ground. It is not a decoration. It is a spiritual table, a place for memories, messages, and magic. When you sit at your altar, light a candle or say a prayer to signal that you're opening the space. Over time, the energy there becomes charged. It remembers your voice. Next, I'm going to go through these fast. I'm sorry, y'all. Offerings. Offerings are how we give back to our ancestors. I've already went over this. It's the spiritual food. It's the actual action of giving something to them. The kinetic energy, that is what they soak up. It's what nourishes the body, also nourishes the soul. It's a symbolic form. Water is the most universal offering. I went over that before. From there, think about what they loved: coffee, rum, cigars, candy, food, flowers, coins. Can't say that word, but TABACCO. Even handwritten letters, prayers, or art you've made for them. Be consistent. Change offerings weekly if you can. Remove old food before it spoils. Always place offerings with love and speak while placing them. This is for you. May you be strengthened and remembered. If you are unsure what to offer, ask and then watch for the signs. Candles. Number 3, fire as a messenger. Fire carries intention faster than almost anything. I keep telling y'all this over and over again in almost every single live. Fire is quick. That's how you get things done quickly. A candle represents light, communication. Water also represents communication as well. Transformation and spiritual fuel. You might light a white candle for clarity, a red one for strength, a blue one for peace. Dress your candle with herbs or oils if you're led to. Write your ancestor's name on the glass, or you can carve it if it's not encased, or on parchment underneath it. As it burns, watch how it moves. Is the flame steady or dancing? Dancing is always good. Is the wax clean or foggy? Does the candle pop or whisper? If it pops or whispers, that means messages are trying to come through. So pay attention to your dreams that night. Candles speak, fires testifies. Petitions. That is number 4. A petition is a written request or statement. Think of it like a spiritual letter. You're writing a spiritual letter. You can write to a specific ancestor or to an elevated bloodline as a whole. You can ask for guidance, protection, wisdom, or clarity. You can use a brown paper bag, parchment paper, things like that. Anything that is recycled is best, if possible. And I'm only saying that because I'm an earth girly. If you are not an earth girly, don't worry about what I just said. Nothing I'm saying is absolute truth. So it carries earth energy. Anoint the corners with oil or breathe over it to seal your energy in. You can place a petition under a candle, inside a prayer book, or fold it and place it at your altar. So, what is number 5? Okay. Number 5, dirt or heirlooms. This is when you anchor your lineage. Some ancestral workers, use dirt from the graves of their loved ones. It's accessible and done with respect, please. Others use dirt from their childhood home or an ancestral burial ground or sacred family land. And this is land that has been in your family for generations. That dirt is powerful to you. Remember that. So dirt holds spiritual imprint. It roots your work in real memory and place. If you don't have access to dirt, heirlooms serve the same exact purpose as dirt. Anything that your family members owned. This is photos, jewelry, clothing, letters, Bibles, kitchen tools, anything your ancestor touched holds energetic residue. It can be used to anchor them. So use it with care and respect. And these items remind the spiritual world, I remember you, I honor you, I still carry you, I loved you enough to keep this item for you. Next is water, which is the original spiritual phone. It's the cell phone of the tools. So water is not just an offering, it is a portal. In nearly every single ancestral tradition around the world, nearly all of them, water is seen as a conduit between the physical and the spiritual realm. It reflects, it absorbs, it carries, it listens. That's why we put glasses of water on altars, not just for hydration, but for communication. So water holds messages from spirit. If you've ever been in my office, I have glasses of water everywhere because of the type of work I do for a living. So cloudy water may signal spiritual unrest or energetic clutter. So if you have seen water turn like milky on your altar, that is a sign that you have spiritual clutter. You need to take a spiritual bath. You need some type of unblocking, some type of road opening, something like that. Bubbles can represent active energy. That is kinetic energy. That means I am here. Visitation. That's what bubbles mean. So a calm, clear glass, even after prayer, may confirm presence and peace. However, if the glass of water is on your ancestor altar and it's clear, no movement at all, no action, no bubbles, no nothing, it could be a sign that your altar has passed away. It's no longer living. You do have to bring your altars to life. If you don't know what that means, DM me and I will tag you in the video I made on the prayer on how to activate your altar. So speak into your water. You can speak into water and drink it. You can whisper your prayers and questions and names and put it on the altar. Remember, water holds memory, and that's a scientific fact. That's not spiritual. That is a scientific fact. So then sit quietly and let the room speak back to you. Replace your water often. Weekly is very, very good. I would not do monthly. Honestly, I'm not going to even give you another time frame. You need to do it weekly. Sometimes daily if you come back and it's cloudy or something like that. Anytime it looks disturbed, change it and never drink it. Do not drink your altar water. Okay. I get asked that a lot. When you have no tools, no names, no directions, start with a glass of water and your breath. It's the oldest way to call home to your ancestors. And now we're going to move to dream journal. Some ancestor workers. Oh, sorry. Oh, here I am. So dreams are one of the most common ways ancestors communicate, and yet most people forget their dreams within minutes of waking up. That is not normal. Humans are supposed to remember their dreams, but the way that you guys are eating, the stuff that they are feeding us, the stuff they're putting in our water, things like that, that is why we do not remember our dreams. They do that to us on purpose. So keep a journal or a notepad by your bed, and as soon as you wake up, even before checking your phone, write down who was there, what colors stood out, what emotions did you feel, was there food, was there fire, a song, a message? Write down everything. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. You'll start to notice repeating spirits, similar settings. This is the language of your ancestors coming through. If you are serious about your ancestral magic, track your dreams like it's a sacred scroll. Keep it in, like I told you, I have a digital one because I do not like to write things down. We don't really live in an age where people write things down. Every now and then I will, if it's like really, really, really sacred and it's something that I want my kids to have, just in case something happens and they don't have access to my phone, even though my kids have my passwords to everything, I do have lots and lots of journals. So keep a journal and always write down your dreams. It's very important. So For those of you who were saying, what if I don't know my ancestors? What if I don't know the name of my ancestor? What if I am adopted? I get that a lot. Some of us don't have a family tree, and I understand that. And you have your questions about your family. Some of us don't have keepsakes. I understand that. But you still have the scars and the silence of your ancestors that runs through your ancestral DNA. Some of us were adopted, displaced, cut off, or left wondering why nobody ever told us where we came from. And I want you to hear me clearly. You can still do this work. You are never spiritually orphaned. You might be orphaned in the physical world, but you are never an orphan in the spiritual world. Your ancestors know who you are, and you know who they are. You just have to remember. So if you don't have photos, you may not know what country your people come from. You may not know your last name beyond what's written on your birth certificate, or your bloodline doesn't hold any memories. But your bloodline still holds memories. Your soul can still access it. Your ashe still vibrates with the prayers of someone who walked before you. So what do you do when you don't know? So if you have a breath, you can begin. If you have water, you can begin. If you can speak, if you can write, if you can sit in stillness, you can begin to venerate your ancestors. Your first tools are going to be a white candle. That is the color of clarity, and it's a universal color for connection. Light it and dedicate it to your elevated ancestors, whether you know them or not. You're going to need a clean glass of water. Like I said before, water is a portal. It is the spiritual cell phone. It reflects, absorbs, and carries energy. It is a mirror and a messenger. Then you're going to need a pen and a piece of paper, and you're going to write to the ancestors, even if you don't know their names. You can even title it, or maybe say, Dear ancestors who are hidden, erased, and then just speak to them from your heart. And then your voice and your spirit. These are ancestral technologies. Speaking out loud is the act of reclamation. Your frequency will reach them, I promise you, because they are in your DNA. I told you earlier about mitochondrial DNA. It doesn't change. It's still there. So, and I'm going to post, probably not tonight. I'm going to post a follow-up because it's so much like I did the last video. And I'm going to have this prayer on that follow-up. So don't worry about writing this down. So to my elevated ancestors, those known and unknown to me, I welcome you in love and reverence. And this is just an example. I may not know your names, but I know your mind. You who walk in light, truth, and protection, I make space for you. Guide me gently. Reveal yourselves in time. I honor the blood that still sings through me. And then I want you to sit. Don't strain to hear. I told y'all, this stuff is not overnight. This stuff is not going to happen overnight. This is when you create a ritual. You do this multiple times. I don't want you to rush, and just breathe, just feel and be present in that moment. And remember, you're not talking to strangers. You just think they're a stranger. You're talking to spirit, one who already loves you, already knows who you are. You just don't have the ability because you were displaced in some type of way. So what happens next? That's when the spirit begins to move. And this is for people who have went through adoption or been displaced in some type of way. Sometimes you'll feel warmth and you don't know why. Sometimes a name will begin to appear in dreams, TV shows, in your own handwriting. You'll just start seeing the same name over and over and over again. Sometimes a culture or a religion will call on you very, very strongly, and you will know it's not random. This is going to be in your face stuff starting to happen after you do this. Maybe a particular instrument moves you to tears. Maybe you keep hearing the same last name over and over again. Maybe certain foods you've never had a taste for suddenly start to taste like home to you. Those are not coincidences. Okay? The ancestors are answering you quietly at first, but it's going to be unmistakable. You're going to know. I don't know how to describe it, y'all. It's just a feeling. You're going to know, I promise you. But you have to be dedicated. You actually have to want this. So, I want y'all to remember that you carry mitochondrial DNA in an unbroken genetic line passed from mother to child for thousands of years. Even if you don't know your mother or she didn't raise you, her genetic memory lives in you. That memory holds culture, instinct, grief, vision, survival mechanisms, and even spiritual sensitivity, your gifts, things like that. You are literally made of those who came before you, whether or not you knew their names. Spirit is not bound by paperwork. We are the descendants, and this I'm speaking to African Americans and people in the African diaspora. We are the descendants of stolen people. We are the children of lost languages. We are the product of erasure, but we are not erased. The ancestors you're meant to work with already recognize you. They've been waiting for you to remember, not the facts, but feelings. And once you open the door, I'm telling you, and you do it with integrity and love, actual intention, they will meet you halfway. Not with words at first, but it will be with presence. And I'm not talking about presence like a gift, presence like they are here with you, with patterns, with an undeniable sense of, I am not alone anymore. So if you have nothing, know that spirit doesn't see you as empty. You are a walking altar. I know y'all hear that all the time from spiritualists. It's true. You are the dream your ancestors dared to imagine, even if they didn't see you, live to see you do it. So your first tool is your willingness to actually try to reach out to them. Um, any questions about that section before I move on? And I don't think this section is long either. Any questions before I move on to the next section? The next section is actually performing ancestral magic, the title of the class. And then after that, I'm going to talk about ethics and responsibility. And then we're done. I'm all over I know I'm over time. Or for you personally, since we have the same ancestors. Okay, yes. And it was actually, that's one of the ancestors who I tried to connect to before I knew his past, and shit hit the fan for me. Like my whole life went to hell when I tried to connect to that person. Let me see. Thank you, Star. And thank you for the gifts, y'all. I keep forgetting I have this microphone on, y'all. If I keep hitting it, my bad. Do we need to separate alter dignity? Yes. Um, like all of your elevated ancestors can be on the same altar. They just from the same bloodline. You know, all your ancestors can be on the same altar. However, if the ancestor is not elevated, or you are unsure about that ancestor, I always tell you, if you are unsure, that means no. You can always use what I told you before: discernment, divination, dreams, and offerings to find out. But usually your instincts are always right. If you don't have a good feeling about an ancestor, you're probably right. You're welcome. It's all good. No, I don't teach hoodoo on live. I'm actually teaching about ancestral magic, which is for anybody who practices any type of ancestral magic from all over the world. I do teach hoodoo privately. I just don't do it on live. Let me see. Let me see. If my father's family cut me off and I'm close with my mother line, can I just work with them instead? Yes. That's the only line I work with is my mother's line. And it's because I didn't really know my father's line as far as I met my grandmother, but I was so young when she passed away. I actually didn't gain a connection with her. But I heard she was a very, very sweet woman. So one day I might reach out to her, but I only work with my mother's line right now because I was so closely connected with them. Okay, Ermi. Am I saying your name right? Ermi, Ermi? Why did he not like you or something? Um, join the circle. It wasn't that he didn't like me. He was just not a good person when he was alive, and I didn't find out until after I tried to reach out to him. Um, I really can't tell the story because I would have to tell personal family business in order to tell you the story. But it wasn't that he didn't like me. He just wasn't a good person. He was actually the ancestor of mine who was a voodoo practitioner. I don't practice voodoo myself, but my that ancestor did. He was from Louisiana, and I hate I ever reached out to him. So that's why I keep instilling that in y'all. If you are not sure about an ancestor, do not reach out to them. On your dad's side, oh yeah, he was a good man. Pookie, I know you never met him, but your grandmother used to sell candy in Luann. And so she was a candy lady because, you know, Luann doesn't have a store. It doesn't even have a gas station. Doesn't have anything, nothing but farmland and stuff. But she was a candy lady. And so I have met your grandfather before and your grandmother. And she was very, very, very sweet. I hate you didn't get to meet, really connect with them. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. Yeah. I'm not sure what type of man he was because I was a child when I knew him, but I knew they were very, very nice. And they used to give us free stuff sometimes because they knew our mother. Let me see. So we're going to move to actually performing Ancestral Magick. Did I write something up here for that? Oh, yeah, that's this. So let me zoom into that. So now that you've remembered, you've called in the energy, you've sat with the signs, built the altar, metaphorically, of course, offered your love. Now it's time to perform the work. So performing ancestral magic isn't about putting on a show. I keep telling y'all that because it's gotten really performative here lately. It's about channeling focused energy towards a specific goal or need while working in alignment with your ancestral spirits, acknowledging them. This could mean healing, protection. It could mean clarity. Sometimes it could mean justice work, strength, even breaking generational curses. Ancestor altars is like one of the best things to do when you're trying to break a generational curse. Yes, real performative. So, but no matter the goal, the process is the same. You start with an intention, which is up here. I found my pointer and I'm not even using it. Ain't that crazy? I don't have to use an incense stick anymore. So, talking about intention, that is, where was I? That is the why. And then the fuel is the Ashe. If you don't know what Ashe is, this is your soul, your energy. It's the energy that is in everything. Not to be mistaken for energy and motion, but it's the energy that is inside of you. In this particular formula, that's what it is. It's your soul's energy. It's also depending on what type of practice you are in. If for let me use an example. So if you are doing elemental magic, like this is work is elemental magic. the Ashe would be the actual element that you're using. So if y'all have been following my classes, this formula can be applied to any type of magic or energy or spiritual practice, even Christianity. In the very first class, I showed y'all how. I do not have time to show y'all how again. But for this particular class, Ashe is you, the energy inside of yourself. The magic is in you. So then you go to activation. This is the kinetic energy. This is what you do in the physical world to actually push your intention and your energy into creating something, into the actual work. So intention is, what are you asking for? Intentions are the blueprint of ancestral magic. You must know why you are calling your ancestors and what you are asking them to assist, if you are asking them to assist you with things. As I said before, build a relationship with them before you ask for anything. The first thing to veneration is acknowledgement. So just acknowledging them, venerating them, giving them offerings, talking to them, doing divination with them, paying attention to your dreams and things like that first, giving them offerings, talking to them, doing divination with them, paying attention to your dreams and things like that first. That is what. My bad. Hold on. Let me plug my phone up. It's about to die. And I know I do this every live. I forget to plug it up. Okay. Pull this over a little bit. Okay. So I said it. Intentions is the blueprint. I said that already. It is the why you are calling your ancestors. I want you to be very specific. You can say, I want to heal the anger passed through my maternal line. And this is if you know what your general specific. You can say, I want to heal the anger passed through my maternal line. And this is if you know what your generational curses are or your holdups are, your blockages, your generational blockages. I ask for protection from people who may harm me. I call in clarity around my spiritual gifts. I am just here to show you gratitude. You have to have an intention already ready before you go to them. You can write your write your intention down as a petition. You can speak it out loud. You can speak it from the heart, as in your mind, your thoughts. Your thoughts have power too. So speak it like you know you're being heard. So that is with confidence. When you talk to your ancestors, talk to them with confidence, like you know that they exist. So next is Ashe. That is what you are bringing to the table. Ashe is your power, your spiritual charge. It is your life force. Every time you pray with sincerity, every time you sing, every time you cry, dance, or pour out your emotions at your altar, that is Ashe. You are generating Ashe. The more clear, grounded, and spiritually aligned you are, the stronger your Ashe flows. You build Ashe through consistency, clean energy, which is cleansing yourself first. Do not go to your ancestor altar dirty. I don't think I told y'all that. Make sure your spiritual and physical hygiene is up to par. Y'all are grown. I don't have to tell y'all how to do that. Emotional honesty, righteousness in your request. That means don't ask for something that dishonors your line or that you can do yourself. They are not your slaves. They are here to guide you. Mutual benefit, the law of reciprocity. I think I went over that before. So, 3, activation. Now do the work. That's where the magic comes into motion. That's when it turns into kinetic energy. Activating the work means performing a specific ritual or act, grounding your intention and backing it up with your Ashe. An example of this is if you're using candle work specifically, dress a candle with herbs and oils, place your petition underneath, light the candle while calling out specific ancestors. Say, may this flame carry my request and ignite the change I seek. That is an intention. Food offering ritual. Cook a dish in silence or and while praying over it, over every ingredient. Turn your phone off when you're doing this. Really put your all into it. Serve a portion to your ancestors on your altar. Ask them to nourish your path in the way that you nourished their memory. Ancestral healing ritual. You can place a mirror on your altar and to represent yourself. Write a letter of release to the and make sure you take the mirror off after you finish this. Like I told y'all earlier, mirrors are portals. I said that earlier in the class. Write a letter of release to the ancestor whose pain lives in you. Read it out loud. Burn it in a fire safe bowl. Burn the ashes. And these are just examples of what work actually very, very basic for beginners. You can do a water and petition ritual. Very basic for beginners. You can do a water and petition ritual. This is when you place written petition in a bowl of spring water. Add white roses specifically. I told y'all white is for communication. It's the universal color for communication. White rose petals or basil, and you can use bay leaves too. Whisper your request into the water and leave it overnight on your altar. The point is, don't just speak it, work it. Do some work. Turn these two things into kinetic energy in order to create is basically what I'm showing you with this. That's activation. So, important notes for safe and rooted practice. Always open and close your ritual with intention. Like I said, take the mirror off of the altar once you finish, if you do that type of shadow work and things like that. Begin by calling in elevated ancestors and setting spiritual boundaries, and then end by thanking them and actually closing the space. I keep saying this over and over again. Do not rush the work. Let candles burn out naturally. Let the energy settle. You're not microwaving a result. You're tending to a fire. Yeah, I don't sleep with mirrors in my room either. It gives me the creeps. So I don't know why. It's something in my ancestral DNA does not like mirrors in my room when I'm asleep. And then journal afterwards. Always write down your sensations, your thoughts, your signs, because you will be surprised the amount of information your brain will forget because it's trying to make room for other information. So writing down everything is always important. Our ancestors used to write down a lot. They call them grimoires now. A lot of practitioners call them family Bibles. And let's see. As I said before, this is not a performance. It's a partnership. You are not commanding the dead. You're not a necromancer. You are doing ancestral veneration. You are co-creating with them. You're not begging. You're collaborating. You are part of the lineage too. And when your work is done with clarity, sincerity, and the right purpose, the ancestors will respond to you. It might not be immediately, might not be in the way that you expect, but if the work is real, I promise you the shift is going to come. Even Jesus had rituals now, y'all. So, why does ritual still matter to us? Like I said, when I said the power is in you, because there is a lot of, I told y'all, if y'all watch my video when I was talking about that bad experience I had in that spiritual group, when they were jumping on that woman who was asking about using candles and things like that. And they were telling her, if you have to use candles, you don't have real power. If y'all watch that video, a lot of you hear that a lot now. Like, you don't need rituals, you don't need tools, speak it and so it is, and things like that. I'm not here to argue with nobody about facts, because I told y'all before, nothing that I say is absolute truth, and nothing nobody else says is absolute truth. Words are powerful. They are. Your voice carries your ashe. Your thoughts create, and your tongue can shape your timeline. But here's the truth, that most people don't always tell you. If you've been spiritually disconnected, you have been colonized, traumatized, displaced, your memory of that power is sleep. Like, there's no way around it. The stuff that has happened to humanity over the last, thousands of years, it has caused us to be asleep. So I don't want you to go into these Facebook groups asking questions and people jumping down your throat for asking questions. Ignore them. So because we are so displaced, because most of us are asleep and are still asleep, some people will never even wake up in this lifetime. Rituals is like your map. It's like your language. It's your bridge between the fog and the fire. So before they stole our names, our people had rituals. Before we were even brought across the ocean, our people had rituals. Before trauma fractured our memory, our people sat in circles. They called on spirits. They danced barefoot in the dust, and they spoke into water under the moonlight. Ritual is not a weakness, it's remembrance. It helps you focus your energy. It helps you ground your intention. It helps your body and spirit sink into alignment. And when you're disconnected from your lineage, ritual becomes, ooh, that is so pretty. Thank you, whoever sent that. Ritual becomes the rhythm that brings you back. So no, you're not less spiritual because you need tools. You're not behind because you feel safest with a candle, a bowl of water, a Bible, because a lot of us get flack for still using the Bible. I have multiple Bibles, multiple different versions of Bibles, and I read all of them. I even have the Codex PDF. So a lot of people get flack for using the Bible in the spiritual community, but I'm going to keep mine because I feel connected to it. You are walking your way back to full spiritual memory. A ritual is how you keep your balance on the road. And to those who say ritual isn't needed, remind them that Jesus had rituals. Even kings and queens had rituals. Even scientists followed rituals. They just call it procedures. Ritual is how sacred energy becomes structured actions. So don't let anyone shame you because you're using rituals or setting up an altar. I don't even know how that even became a thing. That shit pissed me off so bad. I deleted every single spiritual group that I was in that day on Facebook. This always happens on Facebook, in the Facebook groups. They're the ones who have the ego. I rarely see that on TikTok. It might be some people that I ain't ran into yet, but I rarely see it. But Facebook is like a cesspool for ego-filled spiritualists, for real. So, that is that is it for that. Next is ethical and cultural considerations. Anybody have any questions about what I just went over before I move to that? Yeah, Facebook spiritualist is something else. I had a Facebook spiritualist tell me, I had commented on somebody else's stuff. They had put like, what did she put? If you are an earth sign, you can use these songs to channel with. And then when I went in the comments and actually looked at the actual songs, I didn't feel connected to any of them. I actually opened up my Apple Music and I felt absolutely no connection. And I'm an earth sign. Like my entire chart is almost earth. My stellium is in Capricorn. I'm a Virgo. My moon is Capricorn. And almost my whole entire chart is earth. And I felt absolutely no connection to it. And that's all I commented. I said, I don't feel connected to any of these. And I posted it under the person who shared it. This woman told me it's because you're not part of my collective. What does that even mean? I have to be part of your collective as an earth sign to use those songs to channel with. You're not a god. These spiritualists have gotten so powerful. I mean, not powerful, popular, that they think that they are God or something. I just put question mark. Okay. Because what does that even mean? And that's what I mean by I don't even engage with spiritualists on Facebook at all. Because I ain't never heard no shit like that before. Y'all just making shit up now. Just say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe these are what helped me channel. And I put it on the entire zodiac for earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. But anyway, we're going to, anybody have any questions about what I went over? And it is crazy work. Would have aired her out. See, I used to be like that. Like the demeanor that y'all see in me now, and my little sister is in here, so she can contest to this. I am nothing like I used to be. If it was another day and another age, I probably would have screenshotted her and aired her out on my Facebook page. But I don't even have that in me anymore. Ever since I really got into my spirituality, some stuff just don't even be worth it to me no more. I'd be like, okay, it's funny to me now. It doesn't even anger me. Because what are you even talking about? But I used to be real bad, like fighting all the time, cussing people out, putting all my business on Facebook. I was very immature. And see, my little sister can definitely contest to that. I used to pull up at people's jobs if they said something to me out the way. I ain't got that in me no more. So we're going to move on. I don't see any questions pop up yet. And this is ethical and cultural considerations. So this is really about honor and responsibility inside of Ancestral Magick. So we've talked about connection. We've talked about ritual, tools, power. Now we're going to talk about ethics, because working with ancestors is not just a spiritual act. It is a cultural commitment. Ancestral Magick is not universal access. It's not a Pinterest ritual or a spell jar trend. It's not something you copy from TikTok and remix without understanding. This is living tradition. This is blood. It is lineage. This is someone's grandmother's prayers still echoing in the walls of their home. Excuse me. Let me drink some tea. And this is the last section, y'all, and then I'm going to open up the floor for questions and we can talk about other stuff. So the first rule is cultural awareness. I don't think I put this on the board. I didn't because I ran out of space. But I am going to make a follow-up post with a slideshow so y'all can see. I'm going to do a summary of everything. So, cultural awareness over spiritual entitlement. Not every practice is yours to touch. If you were not raised in or initiated into a tradition, have some humility. Do not pull from native, hoodoo, Ifa, because a lot of people try to get into those practices without being initiated, or indigenous systems just because you feel like they're powerful. If they require initiation, you do not have a right to them. So you have to have some type of cultural awareness to know that this is not mine. Lose the ego. Ask yourself, do I have cultural permission and a spiritual relationship to do this? If the answer is no, or I don't know, that's a sign for you to pause, study, and then listen to your spirit. Talk to an elder that is in that tradition that you're interested in, things like that. Approach this work with reverence, honors both the ancestors and the living descendants who still guard these traditions. Because some of y'all be real disrespectful. And when I say y'all, I ain't talking to the people in this chat, but they be real disrespectful with some of these videos telling people they don't have to be initiated. Like this stuff didn't exist for thousands of years before they were born. So, number 2, personal lineage first. So before you wander off into something that is not of your bloodline, if you don't know where to begin with your own bloodline. Every culture in the world has ancestral practices. So find your people's traditions, and you can do this. Go get your blood work done. African ancestry, if you're Black. What is the other one? Ancestry.com. Do they do the blood work? You can even get your genealogy traced back through paperwork too. Hey, royalty. So find out what your people's traditions were, learn their ways, listen to their rhythms. You don't need to borrow sacred ways that you weren't given. Your own lineage has its medicine. You just have to dig for it. And if you have lost connection to your roots, that still doesn't mean you're rootless. Like I said, you can get your DNA done. They have ways to get around this now. So start with ancestral reverence if you don't want to get your DNA into a system, because a lot of us don't. Not appropriation. Do not appropriate somebody else's culture if you are not sure you're a part of it. If you don't want to get your DNA done, a lot of these practices have divinationists. Like that's literally their job within the practice to let you know if you are called to their practice or not. So go to one of those people. And I know there are a lot of scammers. I know there are. Find somebody you can trust. Do your research on that person. So number 3, not every spirit should be worked with. Ethical ancestor work means using discernment between the elevated and the unrested. Do not call every person who's died just because they're your family. And there's another thing. If they just passed away, more than likely they're confused. Give them some time before you reach out to them. How would you feel if you woke up one day and you were at your computer and you woke up without a physical body anymore? And the first thing you have is somebody knocking on your door asking you to come visit them. Let them get their footing first. Where was I? Oh yeah. Do not call on every person who's passed away because they're in your family. Don't treat the spiritual realm like it's a buffet, pulling names, dates, and graveyard charity. Always ask yourself, does this spirit walk in peace? Is this spirit in alignment with my path? Is this spirit healed enough to even help me grow? Ritual is sacred, not recreational. Don't play with doors if you're not ready to hold what's walking through, okay? So number 4, healing, not harming. Ancestral magic should be healing at its core. Of course, you're going to have to do justice magic every now and then because there is going to be somebody who try you, and it's going to be justified. But at its core, ancestral magic is healing work. This does not mean don't protect yourself. It does not mean don't seek justice. It does not mean don't reverse anything that's been thrown at you, especially in hoodoo, in diasporic tradition, because y'all know we gonna survive. We gonna throw it back. But even in justified work, our foundation has to be balanced. It has to be in right alignment. You're not just working with your emotions, you're working with your spirit. So ask, does this serve healing or does this feed my ego? Because the ancestors don't respond to mess, they respond to mission. So if y'all saw my poem a couple of months ago when I dedicated a poem to this practitioner who was running around Little Rock, Arkansas, telling people that she cursed me. She was literally going from business owner to business owner. These people are my friends. Letting them know that she put something on me, made my business fail, things like that. Keep in mind, I closed my business down in Little Rock because I moved. She had it in her head, her ego told her that she had shut my business down. So I was justified because she was stupid enough to tell people that she had done something to me. If you do something to somebody, keep it to yourself. You're from Little Rock area? I'm up there all the time. Yes, why would you brag that? Keep that stuff to yourself. If you do put anything on anybody, they should not know. And I'm definitely the wrong person to mess with, because anyway, that situation is over now. But that's just an example of when I did have to get active. So, learn before you work, listen before you lead. This is a very, very, very important thing, because I know from personal experience, and I actually witnessed this happen. Before I even started Medusa by Kai, so this was years ago, I had a friend, and she was Christian, but she was looking into spiritual work, and I was talking to her about opening Medusa by Kai. I was telling her what I did and why I wanted to open it and things like that. 2 weeks later, she bought some books about spirituality. They were actually witchcraft books. They weren't about hoodoo or anything like that. They were witchcraft books. She bought them. She posted them on her Facebook page and said, I'm about to start learning, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks after that, she started offering rituals to people. That is not okay. I know this life seems, glamorous to some people because of how it's viewed on TikTok, but I'm telling you, this stuff is not pretty. It's not glamorous. You are going to go to bed tired, especially if you're doing this for a living, tired almost every day. People are going to call on you. You're going to be the go-to for every single thing. So that is what I mean when I say it's not okay to try to lead before you learn. You need to learn before you work, listen before you lead. So if you're just starting out, read, observe, reflect. Don't rush to build altars for cultures you don't belong to. Don't rush to sell nobody no rituals or anything like that. I was doing this for 10 years before I even went public and told people what I was doing. Nobody knew except for my family members, of course, and my best friend. But 10 years, not 4 weeks. So don't blend rituals without understanding their source, where they came from, because y'all see, if you see a ritual on TikTok and you feel like you're connected to it in some type of way, it feels like something that, I feel like I should do this. I want you to research that ritual and see where it originated from. Where did it come from? Yes, a lot of people are chasing money. They are, unfortunately. Humanity for you. Everybody's out for a come up. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So, and most importantly, don't make money off of traditions that are not yours. Your path is powerful and it doesn't require stealing somebody else's stuff. So, my final words for this class is, this is not a game, this is legacy. Work with ancestors means walking with history. It means knowing that what you do today could echo into your descendants' lives. This is your children, your grandchildren. It means knowing your practice is more than aesthetic. It's energetic responsibility. The question is never, can I do this? The question is, should I? And am I ready to do it with honor? So let your work be clean, let your heart be open, let your actions reflect the kind of ancestor you want to become when you're no longer here. So you are the altar now, if you were here for this whole class. Any questions? That is the end of the class. This recording